What if I told you that happiness isn't something you find, but something you create every single day, with nothing more than your imagination? Sounds too simple, right? But what if the secret to feeling joy, peace, and fulfillment was hidden in plain sight, buried deep in teachings that most people overlook? Today, we're diving into the mysterious yet powerful formula shared by a man who understood the true nature of reality, Neville Goddard. Happiness is what we all chase, whether it's through money, relationships, success, or dreams. We're all searching for that feeling. But here's the truth. Most of us search in the wrong places. We chase external things, hoping they'll fill the emptiness inside. Yet, no matter how much we gain, that happiness often fades. It's temporary, conditional, fragile. Neville Goddard believed happiness wasn't something you chase. It's something you assume, something you become. And once you understand how he explained this process, your view of reality and yourself might never be the same. In this video, we're going to uncover Neville Goddard's lesser-known formula for being happy every day. Not just moments of happiness here and there, but deep, lasting, self-generated happiness. You'll learn how your feelings create your world, how imagination is more powerful than logic, and why living from the end is the real beginning of joy. We'll explore practices that may seem small but carry the weight of transformation. And by the end, you'll understand how to use these teachings to wake up every morning with purpose, peace, and a quiet joy that doesn't depend on the outside world. But don't expect the usual self-help advice here. Neville's method isn't about positive thinking or fake smiles. It's about unlocking the creative force inside you. It's about assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It's about stepping into a new version of yourself, one who already is happy, already has joy, already feels whole. Neville taught that the world outside is only a reflection of your inner state. Think about that. If you believe you're unhappy, the world will show you more reasons to stay unhappy. But if you dare to feel happy first, even before anything changes, then your world must align to match that feeling. Most people wait for something good to happen before they feel good. Neville nailed that rule on its head. He said, feel good now, and the good will follow. This isn't just theory. His students, some of whom lived in total despair, used his methods to transform their lives. Stories tell of people who went from hopeless to fulfilled, poor to prosperous, alone to deeply connected, just by changing their inner assumptions. And it all began with the decision to feel something different, to live from the end, to feel as though the desire was already real. Here's a question. When was the last time you let yourself feel truly happy without needing a reason? Not because someone texted you back, not because a bill got paid, but just because you decided that joy is your natural state. That's what Neville points to, that hidden place within you where joy already exists. You don't create it, you uncover it. You remember it. So why watch this video till the end? Because the formula you're about to hear could change how you experience every single day of your life. If you've ever felt stuck, numb, or just empty, this isn't just information, it's your wake-up call. We're going beyond the surface and diving into a reality most never see. And by the time you finish this video, you'll have a simple yet powerful method that you can use the very next time you feel down, lost, or disconnected. We're not here to promise a perfect life, but we are here to show you how to feel joy even in the middle of chaos. Neville Goddard didn't teach people how to escape their problems. He taught them how to change their perception, how to assume a new state of being, one where peace, love, and happiness are already present. Not tomorrow, not next year, but right now. And here's the twist most people miss. Happiness doesn't come after things get better. Things get better after you choose happiness. That's the hidden door most never open. And that's exactly what we're walking through today. You'll also hear surprising ideas you might not expect, like why struggling to fix your life might be keeping you stuck, why pretending to be happy doesn't work, but imagining the feeling of joy as if it's already yours why your assumptions, not your circumstances, control your future, and how just one shift in inner feeling can ripple out to change your reality in ways that feel like magic, but aren't magic at all. They're just you using the creative power you've always had. This is not philosophy for philosophers. It's not mysticism for dreamers. This is for you, for the everyday person who wants to wake up feeling good without needing the world to change first. If that's you, then stay with us because you're about to learn how. Welcome to Ignis Mindset, where we don't just explore ideas, we ignite transformation. If you're ready to learn how to feel happier every single day, no matter what's happening outside, then this is your space. This is your moment. And this is your time. Hit that subscribe button and be part of a community that believes change starts within. Let's begin. Before we talk about the exact steps to feel happy every day, it's important to understand the mind behind the method. Neville Goddard. Who was he? What did he really teach? And why do his ideas still resonate so powerfully, even decades after his time? Neville wasn't your average self-help speaker. He wasn't selling dreams or handing out motivational slogans. He was delivering something deeper, something that went against what most people believed. Born in Barbados in 1905, Neville Goddard grew up in a time when religion and science seemed like the only two paths to truth. But Neville took a third route. He studied the Bible not as history, but as hidden instruction. He believed the Bible wasn't a record of past events, but a coded message about the power of the human imagination. That's right, imagination. According to Neville, everything begins there. Your relationships, your career, your emotions, your daily reality, all of it starts in the mind, but not just through thought, through feeling, through assumption, through belief that what you imagine is already true. Neville's central teaching can be summed up in one sentence. Imagination creates reality, not wishful thinking, not random daydreaming, but directed, focused imagination, tied to deep emotion, and lived as if it's already real. He taught that each person is God in human form, not in a blasphemous way, but in a deeply personal way. That the power to shape reality isn't outside you. It doesn't come from institutions or systems or luck. It comes from within, from your consciousness, from your ability to assume a new state of being and let that state define your world. To Neville, you are always manifesting, not just when you're trying to, not just when you're meditating or saying affirmations. Every single moment, your inner state is creating a reflection in your outer life. So the real question isn't whether you're manifesting, the question is what are you manifesting? And are you doing it consciously? Here's the key idea Neville emphasized again and again. If you want to change your life, you have to first change your assumptions. That might sound simple, but it's actually a deep shift. Because most people think their outer world has to change first. They wait for the raise, the partner, the health, the peace. But Neville flips that. Assume the feeling of already having it, and the world will catch up. Let's pause on that word, assume. In Neville's work, assumption doesn't mean pretending or hoping. It means living from the end, acting and feeling as though the desire is already fulfilled, not in the future, not someday now. And when you truly feel that state, you impress it on your subconscious. That impression becomes expression. It moves through your world and reorganizes your reality to match it. He wasn't just throwing out abstract ideas. He taught specific ways to apply this. For example, he often spoke about the state akin to sleep, a drowsy, relaxed condition, right before falling asleep. That's the golden moment to plant a new assumption. Why? Because in that state, the conscious mind, the one that doubts and questions, is quiet. The subconscious is open. And the feeling you carry into sleep becomes the blueprint your mind uses to shape your waking reality. Neville also made it clear that you don't need anyone's permission to change your life. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to fix your past. All you need is a new assumption, and the willingness to feel it deeply. Your imagination is enough. Your feeling is enough. That's where the power is. He told stories, many of them from people who applied his teachings. A woman who imagined receiving a letter and days later received it. A man who imagined already having a job offer and one came unexpectedly. These weren't fantasies. They were deliberate, focused uses of imagination paired with belief, and the results often uncanny, almost magical. But for Neville, they were simply natural laws at work. Now, some people hear this and ask, so am I just supposed to ignore reality? Neville would say yes, because the reality you see now is just the result of old thoughts, old feelings, old assumptions. It's the echo of your past state. If you want a new outcome, you need a new inner cause. Looking at what is won't help. You must focus on what you want to be and live from that point mentally and emotionally. He didn't deny challenges. He didn't say life would suddenly become perfect, but he taught that your power lies in how you respond. Do you react from the old self, or do you assume a new state? Every moment gives you the choice to shift. That's how powerful you are. There's another idea he often repeated. Feeling is the secret. Not just thinking or visualizing, but feeling the reality of your desire. Why? Because feeling is what convinces the subconscious. It's what turns a wish into belief. And belief, deep emotional belief, is what creates change. He once said you must dare to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not hope, not want, but assume. That word keeps coming back. It's active, it's present, it's bold. And that's what Neville encouraged, bold inner action. The world may not change instantly, but your inner state can. And when it does, the outer world eventually follows. One of the most radical things Neville taught is that you are always becoming the state you most accept as true. If you believe you're unlucky, the world will prove you right. If you believe you're worthy of joy, the world bends to that belief too. So what do you accept as true right now? What do you feel is true, even if your circumstances say otherwise? That's the work Neville wanted people to do. Not to struggle with the outside world, but to master the world within. To choose a new assumption, live in that assumption, and trust that the law will bring it into form. He didn't promise instant results, but he promised certainty that your inner world must eventually show up in your outer world if you persist. That's the law, not luck, not magic, just the mirror effect of imagination and belief. So when it comes to happiness, Neville's question wasn't, how can you get happier? It was, can you assume the state of already being happy? Can you feel the joy, the peace, the gratitude now without needing a reason? Because once you do, the world will start rearranging itself to support that state, not the other way around. Before we move into how to actually use these ideas to be happy every day, just remember this. The power to change your life isn't far away. It's not outside you. It's inside your own consciousness. And the moment you assume a new state, the journey begins. If there's one idea Neville Goddard returned to more than any other, it's this. Feeling is the secret. He didn't say thinking is the secret. Not wishing, not working hard. He said feeling, because to him your feelings are the engine behind creation. They don't just reflect your reality, they create it. When Neville spoke about feeling, he meant more than emotion. He meant the inner conviction, the deep, undeniable sense that something is real, even if your five senses say it isn't. That feeling, he taught, is what impresses your subconscious mind. And once the subconscious accepts it, the outer world eventually conforms. That's how manifestation works, not by chance, but by law. He often compared it to planting a seed. Your feeling is the seed, and the subconscious mind is the soil. The stronger the feeling, the deeper the seed goes. And once it's planted, it must grow. You may not see the sprout right away, but it's growing in silence, beneath the surface. That's why he told people, Don't focus on how or when. Just stay loyal to the feeling. The results will come in time. Now imagine choosing happiness as your feeling, not because of anything outside you, but just because you decide to feel happy. Even if nothing around you changes yet, that feeling sends a signal. It says, "This is who I am now," and your subconscious listens. It begins shifting your perceptions, your reactions, and eventually your outer life to match that feeling. This is where many people misunderstand Neville. They think feeling happy means pretending or forcing fake positivity. But that's not what he taught. He taught inner acceptance, choosing to rest in a new state. It's quiet, it's calm, it's natural, and it doesn't need outside proof. That's the difference. You don't wait to feel happy, you assume the feeling. And from that place, your reality begins to reshape. This leads us directly into another cornerstone of Neville's teachings, the law of assumption. This law says that whatever you assume to be true becomes your reality, not what you hope, not what you want, but what you assume. If you assume you're always unlucky, life will keep proving that assumption. If you assume that life supports you, you'll begin to notice more support. Neville said, assumptions, if persisted in, will harden into fact. That word persisted is key. It's not about assuming once and giving up. It's about returning to the feeling over and over, especially when nothing seems to change. That's how the new state takes root. You persist in it, you live from it, and eventually it becomes your world. So how do you apply the law of assumption to happiness? You start by assuming that you are already happy. Even if you feel sadness or frustration, you return to the assumption, I am joyful, I live in peace, I wake up with a light heart. And you feel it, not just say it, but really feel it. What would it be like if that were true? How would you think, speak, walk, breathe, if happiness was already yours? That's the state you enter. That's the feeling you wear, not because the outside has changed, but because you have chosen it. Neville was clear. You don't need permission to do this. You don't need a reason to be happy. You only need the willingness to shift your focus from what is to what could be, and then feel it as if it already is. This is where the power of language comes in. Neville often spoke about the importance of I am statements. These aren't just words, they're identity builders. When you say I am, you're not describing yourself. You're creating yourself. Whatever follows those two words becomes a command to your subconscious. He reminded people that I am is the name of God in the Bible. When Moses asked for a name, the answer was I am that I am. To Neville, this wasn't religious. It was psychological. It meant that the creative force of the universe lives in those words. And when you say, I am happy, I am fulfilled, I am light, you are activating that same power. But it works the other way too. If you say, I am tired, I am unlucky, I am broken, you are claiming those states as your own. That's why Neville urged people to be careful with their words, not out of superstition, but because every I am shapes your self-image, and your self-image shapes your world. To build a happy mindset, you start using I am statements that align with joy, not in a robotic way, but with feeling, with belief. Even if it feels strange at first, repetition with emotion begins to create inner truth. Statements like, I am at peace with myself, I am grateful for this moment, I am joyful no matter what happens, I am open to good things, I am happiness in motion. Each time you say one of these, you're not just speaking, you're building. You're laying the bricks of a new inner reality. And once that foundation is strong, your outer world can't help but respond. Neville also encouraged visualization, but he said it's the feeling that gives it power. You can imagine all day long, but if you feel nothing, you change nothing. But if you imagine holding a letter that brings you joy and really feel the weight of the paper, the excitement in your chest, the relief in your heart, that feeling becomes real. and the real must find its way into your life. So when you practice these principles, you're not escaping reality. You're rewriting it from the inside out. Feeling becomes the pen. Assumption becomes the ink. And I am becomes the story. This is why Neville's work feels so empowering. He didn't teach that happiness is found through struggle or waiting. He taught that happiness is a choice, a state you can step into at any moment, through the power of assumption and the secret of feeling. And as you start to practice this in small ways, feeling joy for no reason, using I am to reshape your self concept, assuming happiness, even on difficult days, you begin to notice something incredible. Your mood shifts, your reactions change. People treat you differently. Opportunities appear not because the world changed on its own, but because you changed first. That's the hidden key, Neville, handed to anyone willing to use it. Not just information, but transformation. And it all begins with one decision: to feel the wish fulfilled, to live from the state you desire, and to let your feelings lead the way. Before anything changes on the outside, it must first change within. That's why Neville Goddard taught the idea of living in the end. It's not about hoping for a better future. It's not about waiting for signs. It's about stepping fully into the version of yourself that already has what you desire and then living from that state. When Neville said live in the end, he meant this: feel and act as if your wish has already been fulfilled. Not sometime later, not eventually, but now. He was clear this isn't pretending or playing a role, it's a full assumption of a new identity. You don't just say it, you feel it. You move in it. You rest in it. And as you do, that inner world becomes the seed from which your outer world grows. So what does this have to do with happiness? Everything. If your goal is to be happy, then you don't wait for the circumstances that might bring it. You claim it now. You begin to live in the state of a person who is happy. How would they think? How would they react to challenges? How would they walk into a room? You don't force it. You assume it. You let the state lead. For Neville, it wasn't enough to want something. You had to become the version of yourself who already had it. And the moment you fully embody that version, the world must shift. It's not magic, it's law. And the law doesn't fail. This is where imagination comes in. Neville called imagination the gateway to reality. He didn't see it as fantasy or escapism. He saw it as creation in its purest form. To him, imagination was God in action. And when you use it consciously, you align yourself with the deepest power in the universe. He taught that everything begins as an imaginal act. Every invention, every relationship, every change. It all starts in the unseen. So if you want joy, peace, love, you begin by imagining those experiences vividly and often. Not just pictures in your head, but real sensory detail. What do you hear? What do you see? Most importantly, what do you feel? You imagine yourself waking up with energy, smiling in the mirror, laughing during your day, receiving compliments, giving love freely, feeling light, feeling alive. You don't wait for these moments. You create them first in imagination and then trust the law to bring them into your outer life. Neville gave many examples of people who changed their lives just through sustained imaginal acts. Not once, not casually, but consistently, with feeling and persistence. They lived in the end in their mind, and eventually the world had no choice but to follow. But this isn't always easy. Neville knew that. He never said the path would be without resistance. One of the biggest obstacles is negative thinking. Those old voices that say, you're not enough, nothing ever changes, this won't work for you. That's the echo of your former self. The key is not to fight those thoughts, but to stop giving them your belief. He said the solution is simple. Assume a new state. Every time doubt shows up, return to the end. Return to the feeling of the wish fulfilled. You don't argue with negative thoughts. You don't explain yourself. You gently replace them with new images, new words, new assumptions. not by force, but by persistence. He taught that whatever you accept as true in imagination, with feeling, becomes fact. So if fear shows up, you don't let it take root. You shift. You say, I am peace. I am protected. I am joy. You step back into the state you desire and you stay there. That's the work. Neville also emphasized inner conversation. Every person, every day, is talking to themselves silently in their mind, and these conversations are powerful. They shape identity. So if you catch yourself saying, I can't, or this is too hard, or why me, pause. Choose new words. I can handle this. I'm becoming stronger. I am joy itself. These are not just phrases, they are instructions to your subconscious. Over time, these shifts create momentum. The old self starts to fade. The new self begins to rise. You react differently. You attract new experiences. The world looks and feels different, not because it changed first, but because you did. Living in the end also means letting go of time. Neville said creation is finished. The version of you that's joyful, fulfilled, happy, it already exists in imagination. Your job isn't to create it. Your job is to enter that state and dwell in it. Time doesn't matter. Delay doesn't mean denial. The longer you stay loyal to the state, the faster it must express. But what happens when old emotions come back? When fear, sadness, or anger rises? Neville would say, don't fight the shadow. Don't deny what you feel. Acknowledge it, then redirect. You have the power to choose again, to shift your attention, to re-enter the state of joy, again and again. That repetition is what builds a new life. He believed imagination is the solution to every problem, not by ignoring the issue, but by choosing the solution first in your mind. So if the problem is unhappiness, the solution is simple. Feel happy now. Imagine what that looks like. Speak like it's already yours. Rest in the end. You don't have to know how. The law will take care of the process. You only have to hold the state. And this is where transformation really begins. When you live in the end, when you use imagination as your tool, and when you stop feeding negative thoughts, you step into the reality you once thought was far away. And then, without effort, life meets you there. True happiness isn't found in one grand event. According to Neville Goddard, it's created moment by moment through deliberate practice, conscious thought, and intentional feeling. His philosophy doesn't just sit on the pages of books. It lives in our daily routines. It's something you apply each morning when your eyes open, and something you return to each night before you sleep. Happiness, Neville taught, is not a reward. It's a state we choose, and we can choose it every day. The first key practice is morning affirmations. The moment you wake up, your mind is open, soft, and receptive. This is the perfect time to impress powerful new beliefs onto your subconscious. Neville often emphasized the power of beginning the day in the right state. Before you check your phone, before you step into your old routines, take a moment, close your eyes, feel your breath, and repeat simple, strong I am statements with conviction. I am joyful. I am confident. I am full of life. I am grateful for this new day. Say them slowly. Say them with feeling. Don't just repeat them. Feel the truth of them, even if only for a few seconds. These statements begin to shape the lens through which you see the rest of your day. You're not preparing for happiness. You're stepping into it now. Then comes visualization. Neville called this the art of imagining. He said what you imagine with feeling becomes your experience. So once your affirmations are complete, spend 2 to 5 minutes visualizing a scene that implies you are already living in happiness. See yourself laughing, talking to someone with ease, walking outside feeling light and open. Picture small, specific moments that would only occur if your happiness were real, and feel them. It's not about seeing with your eyes. It's about seeing with your heart. Neville advised that these imaginal acts should be done in a drowsy state, ideally upon waking or just before sleep. Why? Because that's when the conscious mind is quiet and the subconscious is wide open. That's when your imagined scenes can take root deeply and quietly without resistance. You're not just daydreaming, you're planting seeds in the soil of reality. Another daily practice that aligns with Neville's teachings is gratitude journaling. While he didn't use the modern term journaling, he spoke frequently about assuming the feeling of gratitude before the physical evidence appears. Gratitude is a powerful bridge between what is and what is desired. When you feel thankful for something, you affirm its presence, even if it hasn't yet arrived. Take 5 minutes each day to write down 3 things you are grateful for, not just what you already have, but also what you want, written as if you already possess it. I am grateful for my peaceful mind. I am grateful for the joyful people in my life. I am grateful for the calm and clarity I feel every day. This creates a vibration of already having, rather than lacking. Neville said that the world responds not to what you want, but to who you are. When you walk through life as someone who already has joy, life reflects that state back to you. Now, these practices aren't just theory. They've been tested by real people who chose to apply Neville's ideas in their everyday lives. One young woman began every day with the phrase, I am love. No matter how her day looked, no matter what she faced, she returned to that identity. At first, nothing seemed to change, but slowly her reactions softened. She became more open. People treated her differently. She found herself smiling more, feeling lighter. Without forcing anything, her world began to shift. A man who had spent years in depression used Neville's living in the end technique to imagine himself already at peace. Each night before sleep, he imagined reading a letter from a friend who wrote, I'm so happy you're doing well again. He felt the letter in his hand. He imagined the joy in his chest. At first it felt fake, but over time that feeling became familiar. Within months, without therapy or medication, his outlook changed completely. His mind healed through imagination. There was a woman who visualized herself laughing during dinner with friends, even though she felt lonely. She imagined the clinking of glasses, the warmth of laughter, the joy of being seen and loved. Within weeks, she reconnected with an old friend, then another. Her social circle grew, almost like life was following the script she had written in her mind. These aren't fairy tales. They're examples of the law in action. Neville never claimed to be a guru. He said he was a messenger, passing along principles anyone could use. The magic, he said, wasn't in him. It was in the person who applies the teaching with faith and feeling. And perhaps the most powerful daily habit is the choice to return to the desired state again and again when the world gets loud, when problems show up, when fear creeps in. That's the moment of power. That's when you stop, you breathe, you remember who you really are, and you say, I am still, I am happiness itself. I am aligned with joy, no matter what. Neville believed we were always creating, whether consciously or not. So these daily practices aren't extra work. They're how you take back control. They're how you move from reacting to creating. And with practice, these habits become who you are. You no longer need reminders. The affirmations become automatic. The visualizations feel real. Gratitude becomes your lens. You don't fake happiness. You live it. Neville's philosophy is simple, but deep. The moment you begin to feel joy, even in imagination, you plant a new cause, and every cause has an effect. Every seed becomes a harvest. So happiness, no matter how distant it feels now, can become your everyday state, not through chance, not through effort, but through the quiet, steady application of divine principles, through daily practice, through faith in imagination, through the silent decision each day to be who you truly are, joy in human form. Happiness isn't something we chase, it's something we choose. As Neville Goddard taught, it begins from within. It starts with the quiet decision to assume a new state, to live not in the hope of joy, but in the feeling of joy fulfilled. Every moment becomes a chance to return to that state. We've explored how powerful imagination truly is, how the simple act of assuming happiness, of feeling it now, begins to shape the world around us. From the law of assumption to the force behind I am statements, to living in the end, each principle offers a doorway back to your true nature. Happiness isn't a future event. It's already within you, waiting for you to recognize it. With daily affirmations, visualization, gratitude, and persistence in imagination, you can begin to experience real shifts. No matter what's happening outside, you have the power to transform your inner world, and the outer must follow. Now is the time to apply what you've learned. Not just once, not just when it's easy, but every day. That's how change begins. That's how happiness becomes your new normal. If this message resonated with you, give this video a like. It helps us reach more minds ready for transformation. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Ignis Mindset for more powerful teachings to elevate your life. Your journey to happiness has already begun. Keep imagining, keep believing, keep becoming.